Picture this, you're sitting at a family barbecue, laughter swirling around you, plates piled high with potato salad and burgers. But instead of joining the chatter, you're quietly watching from the sidelines feeling distant. Not angry, not sad, just apart. If that moment feels familiar, if you've ever wondered why you're pulling back from people you once loved being around, let me tell you something. You're not broken and you're definitely not alone. Millions of folks in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond find themselves stepping away from social circles, not because they've lost their spark, but because something deeper is at play. Today, we're diving into 6 psychological reasons why you might be avoiding people more as you age, and why that choice is not only normal, but might just be one of the wisest moves you've ever made. Stick with me because by the end of this video, you'll see your quiet moments in a whole new light, and you might even feel a little prouder of the space you've carved out for yourself. Let's jump in. As we move through our later years, it's natural to notice shifts in how we connect with others. Maybe you used to be the life of the party, hosting potlucks or organizing book clubs, but now you're saying no to invitations more often. Maybe you're skipping the coffee dates or dodging big family gatherings. If you're wondering why this is happening, let me assure you it's not about becoming grumpy or losing interest in life. It's about your mind and heart responding to a lifetime of experiences in ways that are deeply human. In this video, we're exploring 6 psychological reasons behind this shift, each one rooted in the wisdom you've gained over decades. These aren't just theories, they're insights drawn from real stories, research, and the quiet truths many older adults feel, but don't always say out loud. Each reason might spark a moment of recognition, maybe even a sigh of relief as you realize your need for space isn't a flaw, it's a sign of growth. And to keep things real, I'll share stories of folks just like you, plus practical tips to embrace this change without guilt. Before we start, hit that like button if you're ready to feel understood, and let's get into reason number 1. One of the biggest reasons you might be stepping back from people is the emotional baggage you've picked up over the years. Now, I'm not talking about grudges or bitterness, though those can play a part. I'm talking about the quiet, heavy load of disappointments, betrayals, and hurts that pile up like stones in a backpack. Think about it. By the time you're in your 60s or beyond, you've likely faced a friend who let you down, a family member who didn't show up when you needed them, or maybe even a partner who broke your trust. These moments don't just fade away, they settle into your heart, shaping how you approach relationships. And as you age, you start to feel that weight more keenly. You're not as quick to dive into new friendships or keep up with old ones, not because you don't care, but because you've learned that not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Take Linda, a 72-year-old retiree from Ohio. Linda used to be the glue of her neighborhood, always organizing block parties or dropping off casseroles for new moms. But over the years, she faced her share of hurts: a close friend who gossiped about her, a cousin who borrowed money and never paid it back, and a colleague who took credit for her work. None of these were earth-shattering on their own, but together they built a wall. These days, Linda spends more time tending her garden than attending social events. When I asked her why, she said, "I'm not mad at anyone. I just don't have the energy to risk getting hurt again." Linda's story isn't unique. It's a pattern psychologists call emotional self-preservation. As we age, our tolerance for drama or dishonesty shrinks, and we start guarding our peace like the treasure it is. Here's where it gets interesting. This shift isn't about closing yourself off. It's about clarity. You've lived long enough to see patterns: people who promise more than they deliver, friendships that feel one-sided, or conversations that leave you drained. And with that clarity comes a choice to protect your emotional energy. This is where the original content we're building on missed a beat. It didn't dig deep enough into why this baggage feels heavier with age. The answer lies in something called cumulative stress. Every hurt, no matter how small, adds to a mental tally. By your 60s or 70s, that tally can feel like a mountain, making you more selective about who you let in. And that's not weakness, it's wisdom. If you're feeling this weight, try this. Write down one relationship that's been draining you. Ask yourself, does this person lift me up more than they pull me down? If the answer's no, it's okay to set boundaries. Maybe you see them less or keep things light. You don't have to cut them out, but you do have the right to prioritize your peace. Another tip: reconnect with someone who's been consistently kind, even if it's just a quick phone call. Small, safe connections can remind you that not every relationship carries baggage. Pulling back because of emotional baggage is your mind's way of saying, I've learned what's worth my energy. It's like decluttering your home. You're not throwing out everything, just keeping what brings you joy or peace. This shift shows you're paying attention to your needs, and that's a powerful thing. It's not about shutting people out. It's about choosing who gets to stay close based on trust and mutual respect. And as you'll see in the next reason, this choice ties into another big shift in how you value your time. If this reason hit home, drop a 1 in the comments to let me know you're with me. And tell me what's one way you've protected your peace lately. Your story might inspire someone else watching. Have you ever sat through a conversation at a church potluck or a neighborhood coffee clutch, nodding politely while someone rambled about the weather or their new car and felt empty, like you were there but not really there? If you've ever left a gathering wondering why you bothered showing up, this one's for you. As we age, one big reason we start avoiding people isn't that we've lost our love for connection, it's that we've lost our patience for small talk. In our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, we start craving conversations that dig deeper, that touch on what really matters, love, lost dreams, or the lessons life's taught us. And when we can't find that depth, we'd rather sit quietly with our thoughts than fill the air with words that don't stick. Let's unpack why this happens, why it's a sign of your growth, and how you can lean into it without feeling guilty. This shift starts with a quiet realization your time is precious. When you were younger, you might have happily chatted about gossip or sports scores to keep the peace or fit in. But now you've lived through decades of joy and heartache, raising kids, weathering careers, maybe losing people you loved. Those experiences carve out a hunger for meaning. You don't want to talk about the neighbor's lawnmower or the latest reality TV show. You want to share stories about the time you took a leap of faith or hear someone else's truth about what keeps them up at night. Psychologists call this socio-emotional selectivity theory. As we age, we prioritize quality over quantity in our relationships, seeking out interactions that feel rich and real. And when those are hard to come by, we'd rather retreat than settle for surface-level chatter. Take George, a 68-year-old retired mechanic from Texas. George used to be the guy everyone called for a backyard barbecue. His laugh could fill a room, and he'd talk to anyone about anything. But a few years ago, he started skipping the usual get-togethers. When I asked him why, he said, I got tired of talking about nothing. People ask how I'm doing, but they don't really want to know. I'd rather fix up my old Chevy or read a good book than pretend I'm interested in their vacation plans. George isn't lonely. He's got a few close buddies he meets for coffee where they talk about life's big stuff, their kids' struggles, their health scares, their hopes for the future. What he's done is trade quantity for quality, and that's a choice many of us make as we age. Here's the thing, the original content we're building on didn't quite nail it, touched on this idea, but didn't explore why small talk feels so draining now, or how to handle it practically. The truth is, it's not just about wanting depth, it's about energy. As we get older, our emotional batteries don't recharge as fast. A night of shallow banter can leave you feeling like you've run a marathon, especially if you're dealing with health challenges or caregiving responsibilities. Plus, you've earned the right to be picky. You've spent years being the listener, the peacemaker, the one who keeps the conversation going. Now you're allowed to say, this isn't worth my time. That's not arrogance, it's self-respect. But here's where it gets tricky. Pulling back from small talk can make you feel like you're the problem, like you're becoming that grumpy old person. Let me set the record straight. You're not. You're just clear about what fuels you and what doesn't. And the good news, you can still find the connection you crave without forcing yourself into draining situations. Start small, invite one person you trust for a quiet chat over tea, and ask them something real like, what's been the hardest part of this year for you? Or join a group that's built around shared passions, a book club, a gardening meetup, a faith-based study group where conversations naturally go deeper. If big events feel overwhelming, try one-on-one moments instead, like a walk with a neighbor. These choices let you honor your need for meaning without isolating yourself. Next time you're invited somewhere, ask yourself, will this fill my cup or just drain it? If it's the latter, it's okay to say no. Maybe suggest a quieter catch-up instead, like, hey, how about we grab coffee next week? Another trick, prepare a go-to question to steer small talk somewhere meaningful. Something like, what's something you've learned lately that surprised you can turn a shallow chat into a real one? And if you're stuck in a group, give yourself permission to step away early. Your peace is worth it. Craving depth over small talk is your heart's way of saying, I want what matters. It's a sign you've lived long enough to know that life's too short for empty words. You're not withdrawing, you're refining. You're choosing conversations that light you up, and that's a beautiful part of aging. It's like swapping out fast food for a home-cooked meal. You're picking what nourishes you. If this reason resonates, drop a 2 in the comments and share one thing you'd love to talk about with someone, if you could go deep. Your answers inspire me and everyone watching, so don't hold back. Have you ever shared a story from your life, maybe about the summer you met your spouse, or the tough years you worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on, only to watch the person across from you nod distractedly, their eyes flicking to their phone? Or maybe you've tried explaining how you're feeling, only to get a quick, oh, you'll be fine, before the conversation moves on. If those moments leave you feeling invisible, like your words just float away unheard, you're not imagining it. One major reason we start avoiding people as we age is the quiet sting of feeling like we're not truly seen or understood anymore. In our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, we carry a lifetime of wisdom, pain, and stories. But when others don't take the time to really hear us, it's easier to pull back than keep reaching out. Let's dig into why this happens, why it hurts so much, and how you can find spaces where your voice still matters. This feeling often creeps in because the world around us changes faster than we do. Your grandkids are glued to their screens using slang you can't quite follow. Your younger relatives or neighbors might rush through conversations, their minds on work or kids or the next thing on their to-do list. It's not that they don't care, it's that their lives move at a different rhythm. And when you try to share your perspective shaped by decades of hard-earned lessons, you might get polite smiles or quick subject changes instead of real engagement. Over time, those moments pile up, and you start to wonder, why bother? Psychologists call this social disconnection, a gap that forms when your experiences and values feel out of sync with the people around you. It's not about being ignored outright. It's about those subtle dismissals that make you feel like your thoughts don't land. Take Margaret, a 76-year-old former nurse from Minnesota. Margaret used to love hosting Sunday dinners, filling her dining room with family and laughter. She'd tell stories about her nursing days, like the time she stayed up all night with a scared patient, or how she balanced motherhood with night shifts. But lately, she stopped inviting everyone over. When I asked why, she said they don't listen anymore. My daughter's always texting, my grandsons barely look up from their games. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. Margaret's not angry, she's just tired. Tired of feeling like her stories, her life don't matter to the people she loves. So now she spends more evenings knitting or watching old movies where she feels safe being herself. The original content we're building on touched on this idea but didn't fully unpack why feeling unseen cuts so deep or how to move forward. Here's the heart of it. As we age, our sense of self becomes more tied to our lived experiences. You've weathered storms, maybe you've lost a partner, raised a family through tough times, or reinvented yourself after retirement. Those moments define you, and when others brush them off, it feels like they're brushing you off. It's not just about being heard, it's about being valued. And when that value isn't mirrored back, it's natural to retreat to spaces where you don't have to fight to be seen. This can feel like loneliness, but it's more about self-protection. You're choosing environments where your worth isn't up for debate. Here's the good news: you don't have to stay stuck in that disconnection. There are people out there who'll see you, but you might need to seek them out intentionally. Look for spaces where your experiences are celebrated, like a senior center storytelling group, a local history club, or even a church circle where folks share their lives. These are places where your voice isn't just heard but cherished. And don't underestimate the power of one good listener. Maybe it's an old friend who gets you, or even a younger person, a neighbor's kid, or a coworker's daughter who's curious about your life. Those connections, however small, can remind you that your story still has weight. Try this next time you feel unheard. Pause and ask the other person a question about their experiences, like, what's a moment in your life you'll never forget? This can spark a deeper exchange, making space for your own stories to shine. If you're in a group that feels dismissive, give yourself permission to step away. Say, I'm going to grab some air, and find one person to connect with instead. And if you're craving a place to be seen, check out local community events like library talks or volunteer groups where people value shared wisdom. Your voice deserves a stage, so don't settle for less. Feeling unseen is your heart's way of saying, I deserve to be valued. It's not about being oversensitive, it's about recognizing your worth after a lifetime of giving. Pulling back from spaces where you feel dismissed isn't giving up, it's choosing self-respect. You're not invisible, you're just looking for the right eyes to see you. If this one hit close to home, drop a 3 in the comments and tell me about a time you felt truly heard or a moment you wish someone had listened. Your stories light up this community, so share away. Have you ever hesitated to call a friend for help, maybe to drive you to a doctor's appointment, or just to talk through a tough day because you didn't want to bother them? Or maybe you've turned down an invitation to a family dinner, not because you didn't want to go, but because you worried you'd slow everyone down or need too much attention. If that tug of reluctance feels familiar, you're tapping into one of the deepest reasons we start avoiding people as we age, the fear of becoming a burden. In our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, we start to pull back from relationships not out of disinterest, but out of a quiet desire to protect our dignity and spare others the weight of our needs. Let's explore why this fear takes hold, how it shapes our choices, and why stepping back doesn't mean you're less worthy of love. This fear often grows from a lifetime of being the strong one, the parent who fixed everything, the friend who always listened, the coworker who never missed a deadline. But as we age, things change. Maybe your knees aren't as steady or your energy fades faster. Maybe you need a ride, a hand with groceries, or just someone to sit with you through a health scare. Those needs, however small, can feel like a spotlight on your vulnerabilities. And for many of us, that spotlight is uncomfortable. We've spent decades being independent, so asking for help feels like admitting weakness. Worse, we worry that our presence, our aches, our slower pace, our stories might feel like a chore to others. So we say no to invitations, keep our struggles quiet, and stay home more often, not because we want to be alone, but because we want to be loved without feeling like a responsibility. Take Walter, an 81-year-old widower from Georgia. Walter used to be a regular at his son's family cookouts, grilling burgers and tossing a football with his grandkids. But after a hip replacement, he started declining invitations. When I asked why, he said, I can't keep up anymore. I need help getting out of chairs, and I see how busy they are with work and school. I don't want to be the guy they have to babysit. Walter's family never called him a burden. In fact, they begged him to come. But that fear of being too much was stronger than his longing to be there. Psychologists call this perceived burdensomeness a belief that our needs place an unfair load on others. It's especially common in older adults who often value self-reliance and dread the thought of disrupting someone else's life. The original content we're building on mentioned this fear, but didn't dive deep enough into why it feels so heavy or how to navigate it without retreating completely. Here's the truth. This fear isn't just about pride, it's about love. You pull back because you care about the people around you. You don't want to stress them out or change their plans. But here's the flip side. Those who love you don't see your needs as a burden. They see them as a chance to give back. The problem is that fear can trick you into shrinking your world, making you miss out on moments that could lift your spirits. And it's not just about physical needs. Maybe you hold back from sharing your worries about health, money, or loneliness because you don't want to dump on anyone. That silence can feel safer, but it can also leave you feeling more alone than you need to be. So how do you move forward? Start by challenging that inner voice that says you're too much. Try small steps, ask for something simple like a ride to the store, and notice how the other person responds. Chances are they'll be happy to help, and that can rebuild your confidence. You can also set boundaries that make you feel less dependent, like offering to chip in for gas or suggesting a short visit instead of a long one. And if big gatherings feel overwhelming, try one-on-one moments like a coffee date with a friend or a quiet chat with a grandchild. These smaller connections let you stay close without worrying you're asking for too much. Next time you're tempted to say no to an invitation, pause and ask, am I saying no because I truly don't want to go, or because I'm worried I'll be a burden? If it's the latter, try saying yes. But with a plan, maybe ask for a specific kind of help, like I'd love to come, but could you pick me up? Another idea is share one small need with someone you trust. Like, I've been feeling low. Can we talk for a bit? Opening up even a little can remind you that your needs are human, not heavy. And if you're unsure where to start, look for community programs like senior ride services or support groups that make asking for help feel less personal, but still keep you connected. Fearing you're a burden is your heart's way of protecting your pride and the people you love. It's not about being stubborn, it's about wanting to be valued for who you are, not pitied for what you need. Stepping back is a sign you're aware of your worth, and that's a strength. You're not a burden. You're a person, and the right people will always see that. If this reason rings true, drop a 4 in the comments and share one small way you've asked for help or wish you had. Your courage inspires us all, so let's hear it. Have you ever picked up the phone to call an old friend, someone you used to laugh with over coffee, or share late-night heart-to-hearts with, only to realize it's been years since you last talked? Or maybe you've looked at a photo from a long-ago picnic or reunion and felt a pang wondering how you grew so far apart from people who once felt like family. If those moments stir a mix of nostalgia and quiet acceptance, you're not alone. One of the most bittersweet reasons we start avoiding people as we age is the gentle drift of old friendships. In our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, connections that once anchored us can fade not from anger or betrayal, but from the slow, natural pull of life's changing seasons. Let's unpack why this happens, why it's okay to let go, and how you can find peace in the spaces left behind. This drift often starts without us noticing. Maybe you and your best friend bonded over raising kids, working side by side, or living next door. But then life shifted. She moved to Florida, you retired, or your schedules just stopped lining up. Those weekly lunches became monthly, then yearly, then just a Christmas card. There's no fight, no falling out, just a quiet understanding that you're on different paths now. Psychologists call this relationship attrition, a natural thinning of social ties as priorities evolve. As we age, our energy focuses inward on health, family, or personal passions, and friendships that once thrived on shared circumstances can start to feel like memories. It's not that you love these friends less, it's that keeping up takes effort, and sometimes you'd rather savor the past than force a present that doesn't fit. Take Evelyn, a 74-year-old former librarian from Oregon. Evelyn and her friend Susan used to meet every Saturday at a local diner, swapping stories about books, kids, and life's ups and downs. They were inseparable for decades. But after Susan's husband passed, she threw herself into volunteering, while Evelyn slowed down, spending more time with her grandkids and painting. Their meetings tapered off, not from a lack of care, but because their lives no longer overlapped. When I asked Evelyn about it, she said, "I miss her, but we're not the same people anymore. I'd rather remember our good times than try to pretend nothing's changed." Evelyn's story shows how friendships can fade without fanfare, leaving a soft ache but also a kind of peace. The original content we're building on touched on this idea but didn't dig into why letting go feels both sad and freeing, or how to embrace it without guilt. Here's the heart of it: as we age, we become more honest about what we need. You've spent years nurturing relationships, often putting others first. Now you're allowed to prioritize your energy, your joy, your rhythm. Some friendships fade because they were tied to a specific season, your job, your kids' school, your old neighborhood, and that's not failure. It's life. Holding on to every connection can feel like clutching a bouquet of wilted flowers. Letting go, on the other hand, makes room for new growth. Maybe a new friend who shares your love of gardening, or a deeper bond with a family member you've reconnected with. So how do you navigate this drift? First, give yourself permission to grieve the change. It's okay to feel sad about a friendship that's faded. It means it mattered. Write a letter to your friend. You don't have to send it to honor what you shared. Then focus on the connections that still spark joy. Reach out to someone you've lost touch with, but miss maybe a quick note saying, "I was thinking about our old diner days," can rekindle something. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Look for new ways to connect that fit who you are now. Join a local art class, a walking group, or an online forum for your hobbies. These spaces can bring fresh faces who align with your current self without the weight of trying to revive the past. Try this. Make a list of 3 people you've drifted from but still think about. Pick one and send a simple message like, "Hey, I was remembering our old times. How are you doing?" If they respond warmly, set up a low-pressure catch-up like a phone call. If not, let it go with gratitude for what was. Another idea, explore one new activity this month, like a library book club or a community center event where you might meet someone who clicks with the person you are today. Small steps can open big doors. The drift of old friendships is your life's way of saying, you've grown and that's beautiful. It's not about losing people, it's about honoring who you've become. Letting go of connections that no longer fit isn't rejection, it's clarity. You're making space for relationships that light up your present, and that's a gift you've earned. If this one tugged at your heart, drop a 5 in the comments and share a memory of a friend you've drifted from or someone you'd love to reconnect with. Your stories weave us together, so let's hear them. Have you ever found yourself sitting on your porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise or listening to the birds, and felt a deep, quiet contentment that you didn't need to share with anyone else? Or maybe you've spent an afternoon lost in a hobby, maybe woodworking, knitting, or flipping through old photo albums, and realized you were perfectly happy, just you and your thoughts. If those moments feel like a warm blanket for your soul, you're discovering one of the most beautiful reasons we start avoiding people as we age, the peace of embracing your own company. In our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, we begin to find a joy in solitude that's not about loneliness, but about feeling whole exactly as we are. Let's dive into why this shift happens, why it's a gift, and how you can lean into it without a shred of guilt. This change often sneaks up on us. For years, you might have been surrounded by noise, kids running through the house, co-workers chatting in the break room, or neighbors dropping by for a quick hello. Back then, solitude might have felt rare, even unsettling. But as life slows down, maybe after retirement or when the kids move out, you start to notice the stillness. And instead of filling it, you savor it. You realize you don't need a crowd to feel complete. Your own thoughts, memories, and simple pleasures, like tending a garden or reading by the fireplace, become enough. Psychologists call this intrinsic fulfillment, a shift where we find meaning from within rather than from external validation. As we age, we grow more comfortable with who we are, and that self-acceptance makes solitude not just bearable, but beautiful. Take Dorothy, an 83-year-old from Colorado. Dorothy used to be the queen of social gatherings, hosting bridge nights and volunteering at her church's bake sales. But in recent years, she's traded crowded rooms for quiet mornings in her sunroom where she paints watercolors or listens to jazz records. When I asked her why, she smiled and said, "I spent my whole life showing up for others. Now I'm showing up for me. I don't need anyone else to make me happy. I've got myself." Dorothy's not isolated. She still sees her kids and chats with neighbors, but she's found a rhythm where her own company feels like a treasure, not a last resort. The original content we're building on touched on the joy of solitude, but didn't fully explore why it feels so liberating or how to embrace it without worrying what others think. Here's the core of it. Solitude lets you reclaim your time and energy. After decades of giving, raising families, supporting friends, meeting deadlines, you've earned the right to pause. Solitude isn't about shutting people out. It's about listening to yourself. It's where you process your life's highs and lows, rediscover passions you set aside, or just rest without explaining why. And yet society often misreads this choice, assuming you're lonely or depressed. That's where the guilt creeps in, making you wonder if you should be more social. Let me be clear, choosing your own company is a sign of strength, not sadness. It shows you've learned what truly fills your heart. So how do you embrace this peace? Start by carving out intentional alone time, even if it's just 30 minutes a day. Try something that feels like you may be journaling about your life, tinkering in the garage, or watching a favorite old movie. Protect that time like a sacred appointment. If others question your quieter lifestyle, don't feel pressured to justify it. A simple "I'm enjoying some me time lately" is enough. And if you ever crave connection, balance it with your solitude. Maybe invite a friend for a short visit, or join a low-key group like a knitting circle or a bird-watching club that respects your need for space. Create a solitude ritual to make alone time special. Pick a spot like a cozy chair by a window and pair it with something you love like a good book or soft music. Set a timer for 15 minutes if you're new to it and let yourself just be. Another tip, if guilt sneaks in, remind yourself, this is my time to recharge and I deserve it. If you want a touch of connection without losing your peace, try writing a letter to a loved one or joining an online forum for a hobby you enjoy. Small ways to stay linked while honoring your rhythm. Embracing your own company is your soul's way of saying, I'm enough. It's not about isolation, it's about finding joy in your own presence. Choosing solitude reflects a deep self-awareness, a gift that comes with age. You're not hiding, you're home, and that's a beautiful place to be. If there's one thing to take from this journey, it's this. Stepping back from people as you age isn't a sign of weakness, it's a testament to your wisdom. Whether it's guarding your heart, seeking depth, feeling unseen, fearing you're a burden, letting old ties fade, or cherishing your own company, each choice shows you're listening to your needs. You've lived long enough to know what lifts you up and what weighs you down, and that clarity is your superpower. Embrace it. Protect your peace, seek what's real, and trust that your path, whether it's quiet or connected, is exactly where you're meant to be. Which of these 6 reasons spoke to you the loudest today? Drop its number in the comments and tell me one way. It's shown up in your life, your stories mean the world to us. If this video helped you see your choices in a new light, hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video. We're here to keep inspiring you. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.